thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Phi Labs or the Archway Protocol. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only.
Welcome back to the Archway Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Weisman, joined today with lead developer experience engineer for the Phi Labs team, Augusto Elesbão. Augusto, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Eric. Very pleased to be here.
Recently, the community has become more aware Phi Labs is this core development team that is primarily focused on building out the Archway protocol. It does some other software as a service type things as well. But what is your role exactly? What are you doing with DevX? But first and foremost, introduce the community to you.
My name is Augusto Elesbão. I'm the lead developer experience engineer at Phi Labs. And I've been working with software engineering for the past 22 years now, almost 23. Yeah, I started like in Web 1 times. So front-end developer, a lot of HTML, JavaScript, and it evolved to back-end engineer. I worked with many different technologies, Microsoft, and then moved to the Linux world, worked with many different types of languages, C, Scala, Java, whatever you can name. For the last 7 years, I'm living here in Berlin. I'm originally from Brazil, Santos. City known for the player Pelé and also Neymar. Yeah, both played for the Santos Football Club. So I moved here to Berlin 7 years ago, basically working as backend engineer at that time. And then in the past 2 years, I decided that I had to move to work with crypto. I was already with an eye on that, like since late 2012 when I run a Bitcoin miner at that time. It was still profitable to run GPU miners. Not profitable, but you could get some bucks.
Just got to tap into the neighbor's electricity, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but then I stopped looking into that for personal reasons. And after some time, late 2016, I started to look back into Ethereum. I heard about it. I was already here in Berlin. It was a big topic here, but I didn't give much attention until late 2017 when I saw everything just skyrocketing. And then I said, okay, maybe this is something I should pay attention a little bit more. And then I decided to start studying it. But it was not until 2019 that I decided to fully move into working full-time with crypto. I started to prepare myself at that time and study, just get the knowledge that I had to start developing on that. And then late 2021, I joined at that time Tendermint, now Ignite. And from there, we branched out to Phi Labs. And since at that time, we started building the Archway project.
Very nice. Yeah, I tell the community all the time, it's like, yeah, the Archway team is a lot of the core team from Tendermint, from Ignite, moving over to build out the smart contract platform for the entirety of the Cosmos and beyond. But it's nice to have another one of the Tendermint developers here on the show. So thank you. Can you walk us through now how DevX differs from regular development and what you guys are focused on? And then maybe tell us a little bit about what we're missing right now in crypto, since you have so much experience in non-crypto.
Yes, for sure. Developer experience, the way I see it, is like an umbrella term for a lot of things regarding the easiness for a developer to get onboarded into a tool and be able to get their code or their idea into production. So throughout all this process, from bootstrapping your project, going through the development phases, inception, and then the first MVP, etc., until you deploy your code, all the tools, documentation, educational material that you may find, all that is part of the developer experience. So thinking on those terms, here at Phi Labs, the way we think about developer experience is we have a team focused on building tooling for the community. Another one that helps with documentation, providing the best possible documentation for onboarding people into Archway, Cosmos, Cosmosm, and also education, which is the Area 52 project, for example, is our educational platform for people who are new to both Rust and also Cosmosm.
Yeah, Area 52 is fantastic. But that's awesome that we do have teams broken down for these different subsections to really make sure that no area is missing. A lot of things can be overlooked, especially with small teams or with everyone wearing too many hats. So yeah, glad that this is being considered early on. Now, what is missing from a developer experience? Like, how difficult is it currently for somebody to go out and build and deploy a dApp? And how is Archway making that better?
I think that right now, one of the biggest pain points is documentation. This is something that we are definitely working to improve, trying to build the best material for people to find the information they need easily. Because we have usually two types of developers coming to Archway. The first are people who are completely new to software development. They want to learn how to write code. At the same time, they want to learn blockchain, how to deploy a dApp, and so on. So for this kind of profile, we thought that, okay, it's not only important to have a good documentation, but the tools should also guide the user throughout all the steps. So even like small things as installing the requirements for doing the project they want to do, it's important that we guide the user through all those steps. But most important of all, I think it's education on this aspect. That's why we thought about Area 52 as an introductory course, because people will listen more and more about Cosmos. Rust is a very hot language. For the past 5 years, it has been winning as the top one language in Stack Overflow. Even though it's not being so widely used in production, it's a language that a lot of developers, both from systems engineer, web development, etc., they are looking to this language because it fits for many different use cases. But it's a hard language to learn. So that's why we also thought, okay, in Area 52, let's not assume that people know Rust. Let's give like a little bit of the taste of how does it look like and how people can get started with it. So there are many kind of buckets that the developers, they have to fill before they are able to deploy a dApp. And that's what we are trying to do in Phi Labs on that matter. And the other type of developers are developers who are already familiar with Rust or Cosmos, or they are long-time developers. They are just arriving in crypto, but they have a pretty good understanding. They can follow documentations very easily because they are able to navigate between the documentation, and if they don't find the information there, they can go to the source code. So for these kind of developers, the interaction is different because you're talking to people who are already experienced in software development. And so for them, I think the most important part is that the software works. It's very important that whatever we are trying to do, we can do like in the minimum amount of steps possible. And that's what we are trying to achieve with the tooling. So for these kind of developers, we are also focusing on building a huge set of tools that will help them on their code editor, in the command line, and many other places that it can be helpful. And most important, right now, one of the biggest pain points I could say for dApp development is that most of the tools, they are scattered. So you need to find different tools, install many different tools to do one thing that should be part of your, and all those steps, they are part of your pipeline, like to develop a smart contract, and then you develop a front end, you will test all that, you will deploy. So all those steps, right now, people have to install many different tools to complete each of those steps. And what we are trying to do is, okay, let's make this entire process easier so people can use a single tool for that.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I know a lot of people that have a great dApp idea. They want to see it come out. They know that crypto can help solve it, and they don't necessarily know how to take that first step or how to build this out, or they might have some technical knowledge, but that it's too deep. And so that fear, that boding, like, oh man, this is some insurmountable start to a task, can really stop a lot of good ideas from coming to fruition. So lowering that barrier of access is really fantastic. So thank you for that. Now, in part of your experience, I know you worked as a data engineer and you worked to help build and maintain data warehousing. How has your experience working with data affected your belief in crypto? I've heard some with a school of thought what does crypto solve that MongoDB can't do? And where do you see it being different?
This is a very good question, because one of the biggest challenges we have working with big data in general are the data silos that exist at the moment. So for the user, you can think about many topics like data ownership. Right now you have, people have profiles in Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, and all those are data silos. You cannot really, you don't own your data, the companies, they own your data. So one of the things that I believe that crypto can solve is this transfer of ownership. If I don't want a third party accessing my data, I should be able to do that easily, right? If I don't want, in the same way that, I don't share like my social security number with anyone. It's like my data is also personal, the pictures, whatever I post, I should decide. And crypto might be able to help with that, given that we are able to design good systems for this kind of data ownership, that we make these in a way that the user really feels safe and the data is really protected in a distributed manner, but the data belongs to the user. And also the other thing is the amount of data we are generating, right? As a society, the amount of data we generate every year grows exponentially. Yeah, so this is something that we also need to think about, like thinking about systems that can also collect and process this data in a way that, it's still scalable, but also it's easy for you to fetch the information that you need. For example, imagine that you are building whatever, an AI, as we have seen like in the past weeks, chat GPT, accessing this type, like the kind of data that you need to build the tools that you need to produce this sort of AIs. It's quite hard for you to actually, from your house, for example, try to develop such kind of model, because the amount of computation you need to generate such applications is huge. And with distributed computation, which crypto might provide as well, so we can distribute the computation to process a huge data set across many nodes, and those nodes would be paid by their contribution, right? So this is an idea that's not new, right? It has been applied for many different projects in the past, but I think crypto gives another level on that, so like the economical level, that it incentivizes people to contribute to those projects.
My response to people who are saying that, like, it's just a decentralized database, what's special about it is like there's a really big difference between driving a car and owning a car. And so building an internet with ownership involved and transferability possible, let alone easy and seamless and provably authentic, is it is a big deal, but it doesn't solve every problem that crypto's trying to, where it's like, hey, just throw a token on this and now it's new. So I think as we advance as a space, we'll find a nice middle ground where it solves a ton of problems, but it isn't overreaching. So since you went to Tendermint, moved to Ignite, and branched off with Archway, what's your experience been like? How does it measure up compared to some of your other jobs? How do you like the team and vision?
Yeah, it has been amazing. Like this past year, working with the folks at Phi Labs has been a great experience, seeing the team growing as well. It's amazing. A lot of new talents joining, and I think that one of the interesting parts is like culturally, people from many different places, different backgrounds. Amazing for any company to have such diversity, because it adds at the end. You don't get like biased views on many different topics that you are discussing internally.
What do you think of the vision of Archway?
Yeah, so for me, the vision of Archway is so amazing, because for me, it's such a natural flow to think that, well, developers are the core contributors to any kind of project. This is not only for blockchain, it's like for any kind of project that you depend on developers. So I guess it's such a fair decision to just give a portion of whatever the network produces, give it back to developers, so they are able to reuse it internally as well. I think that it's amazing. When I heard about Archway's vision for the first time, I was very excited. I still am.
And now, with that vision, what's something you would really like to see built on Archway? Like, what DApp or tool do you think will just really be game changing, or even just personally exciting?
I guess that DAXs are one of the first things that comes to our mind, given the reward system built into Archway's protocol. But there are so many applications for DAOs, and one that I'm really excited about are DeSci applications, which is Decentralized Science applications. And this is such a cool topic because research and development for science is so centralized. It's usually owned by few groups, and people don't have, a lot of times don't have transparency. The funds, it's super hard for scientists to get funds. And also when they get the funds, like the intention behind the sponsoring of a project is usually not clear as well. So I think that decentralized science is one of the topics that, for me personally, it would be amazing to see it developing further. And within Archway, I think this would be an amazing application, given the capability of reusing the reward systems inside the DAO, and being able to fund projects. And
it's honestly brilliant. I would love to see more development of DeSci. Good answer. Transitioning back to Archway and to DevX, what is your vision for the developer experience on Archway? Where do you see it in 1 year, 3 years, and then, Lord willing, 10 years as we scale and grow? How easy could it eventually be?
I think that short-term vision is providing the best, the long-term vision is providing the best possible tooling for developers to deploy their Cosmosm projects. Not only tooling, like also educational material, so documentation, improving Area 52 as well, so expanding with extra courses and some extra functionalities, things that will also reward people completing the course, etc. On the short term, for the tooling part, I guess our goal is to provide a tool that is able to do all the steps the developer needs, from scaffolding a project until deploying it. So that's the short-term goal. We are working a new version of our main tool to assist DApp developers that's more comprehensive of all those steps required for the development. And we are currently in progress, in flight with this tool. But like mid-term to long-term, I can say that it is to be the standard tool for Cosmosm developers in general. Like when you think about developing an app, you first think about using Archway tools because they are well maintained, they are well documented. The same way that when a developer is onboarding into Ethereum, they think first about Truffle and Hardhat. And Hardhat is just like a fork of Truffle anyway. So those are the tools that people think first when they are thinking about that ecosystem. And the idea for Archway is for DevX, is to provide these sort of tools, like to be the first one that comes in people's mind when they are thinking to do something in Cosmosm.
Fantastic. Yeah, and the reason the community should really care is because the easier it is to develop, the more developers come in and build, and the more developers come in and build, the more brilliant applications and availability and things there are to do on Archway and for the community. So it's fantastic. I think with developer awards models, we've rolled out a couple internal calculators that have really helped with biz dev discussions, just to showcase how much like Arch rewards developers could be making for their applications that they're building, for their tooling that they're building, and the numbers are looking pretty cool. Like this is getting designed really well, and so if it's easy and if it's more financially rewarding, then it's going to make sense for developers to come, and that's where a lot of layer ones are really struggling right now. So if you're listening to this and you're a budding developer, come reach out to me. We'll get you set up, pursue a grant maybe, but also get ready to for mainnet and launch your DApp here on Archway. And I'd be happy to run through some numbers with you. But very exciting to see how the DevX will look in years to come, being that everyone goes back to Tendermint to check their original code. I want everyone to go to Archway for building their apps and their layer 2s. And
exactly.
think it's going to come to fruition. Now, what's something you would like to leave with the audience? What's something that you would like them to know, one key takeaway for them from you?
If you're new to crypto or new to software development in general, the road ahead is full of things for you, like hidden for you, that you have to look for, but don't stop learning. This is one of the main key takeaways, like don't stop learning to reach the goal you want. I think it's extremely important to don't stop learning. Don't get like in the comfort zone. And that's why we are trying to build like the best documentation, best educational material for you. We are also here to help. I think this is one important thing to say. Whenever you have any doubts or whatever, whenever you have like any suggestions, improvements for us, please reach out. We are always available in Discord, in the Archway's community Discord. And yes, I think that's it.
Awesome. Augusto, thank you very much for coming on the show and for explaining DevX and giving us some brilliant insights to your role and also the operation inside of Archway. How could people reach out to you if they have any questions about DevX, or they're a budding developer maybe and are wondering what it would take, or maybe asking for something beyond the scope currently of Area 52? 3
channels, basically. Twitter, both my LinkedIn as well. Both my Twitter and LinkedIn handles are the same. It's Elesbão, like my surname, all together. And in Discord as well. I'm online from time to time there. But if you ping me with a message, or if you tag me with a message, I will see that.
All right. Augusto, thank you very much for joining the Arch In podcast.
Welcome. Thank you, Eric, for hosting me here.